Here's a tactic that all intelligence operatives learn, and it's called elicitation. You use statements instead of questions to get the most powerful information from other people. Let's just imagine you and me took an Uber to get here, and we get into that Uber, and I say, I just read online that Uber drivers were rated the #1 job satisfaction of all the jobs in the country. And I just said a statement, right?
Mhm.
And he's going to turn around and go, "What? Where where did you see this?" So that starts a conversation. And then he says, "No, it's really bad. I do this, this, and they take the money and this and this." And then I do disbelief. This is another technique. Disbelief says, "No way. There's no way that company would treat you like that." He goes, "Oh yeah, you will never guess what happened just a couple of weeks ago." And then he just kind of goes into this deep story that he would never tell another client. Who does he tell these stories to? Friends. I've made his brain start behaving in friend mode, and I haven't even asked any questions yet. When a person's being asked a question, it raises a little door in the brain that says, I need to be careful about the answer. If you're responding to a statement, your brain does not have that little security guard that comes out. And then let's say he goes into a story, and then I say, my neighbor's daughter started driving for Uber, and she said she saw the wildest things happen in her backseat. And then you're going to hear a story again. And I have not asked any questions. So a different way to do this is called quotes, facts, and figures. And you deliberately say, I saw a YouTube video, read an article, did something that said X, Y, and Z, and it triggers a need in the human brain that's almost irresistible. And it's called the need to correct the record. I need to set the record straight, which is what I was talking about in the Uber.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And the next way we do this is just making what's called a provocative statement. So let's say I asked you what you do for a living, and you say, well, I make YouTube videos, and now I'm starting this new podcast thing, and it's been interesting. It's been a good career change. And I say, wow, YouTube, that has got to be challenging. Yeah. And then it starts coming out. It's like people can't resist. This is where elicitation, those techniques of using statements, is not enough. So at this point in interrogation, what we call this a confrontation. And in the interrogation room, I might say something like, Leon, I know you're a good person. I've been doing this a long time. And if there's one thing I know for sure, it's when I'm not getting the full story. And you can feel the stress, right? I can see the stress on your face. And then we move into something called a monologue. And this is where we have 4 goals: socialize, rationalize, minimize, and project. Socialize, people are going to understand. Minimize, not a big deal. Rationalize, anybody would have done that. It makes perfect sense. And then project, it's not your fault. In The Art of War, Sun Tzu has a quote that I think is so perfect to describe this. And it's, build your opponent a golden bridge upon which they can retreat. And that's what that is. So socialize, minimize, rationalize, project. Those in real language. Let's say I'm really trying to get a confession out of a person. Let's say it's a person who stole a bunch of money from a business or a bank. So I want to socialize, right, the first. And I would say, John, this makes sense. And I think once people understand the kind of person you are and the reason that you did this, I think everybody who understands this is going to fully agree and understand why you did this. Minimize. And we're not talking about $1 million. I deal with those people all the time. I talk to bad people every day of my life, and I know you're not one of those people. This is a small, tiny amount of money. It's not a big deal. What happened was not a big deal, and people get over this. People get through this. It's not huge. Rationalize. And John, I know that your aunt has had piling up medical bills. She's been suffering. She's going through chemotherapy and all that stuff. Anybody in their right mind, this makes perfect sense why you could do this. And now we move into project. And this company doesn't pay you shit. They don't pay any of their employees anything. And your medical bills are piling up as well because you don't have good medical insurance. I think anybody in your situation, especially with the way this company treats you, and they don't check for any security. If they wanted to keep that money secure, they would have locked it up. They don't. Anybody would have done this in your situation. And it makes perfect sense. But what I'd like to put in my report here is that you did this for good reasons. So what I want to know is, did you take that $10,000 to go spend on cocaine and heroin, or were you trying to help someone? Guilty people try to build rapport. Yeah, let me make you into a friend. I need to make you a friend. And innocent people don't care how you view them. They're saying, this is insane. I do not belong here.